Hi everybody, it's Tatiana and I am coming today with a list of books that I really wanted to get to in 2018 and I didn't. So this is kind of like calling me to task myself because I had such high hopes of reading more of the books on my bookcase this year, and as usual I didn't because I spent a lot of time reading library books, which isn't a bad thing, but when you have, like, if I could show you all my unread bookcases, cases. So this is me calling myself to task for not doing what I said I wanted to do as far as sticking to some of the books that I wanted to read or had planned to read for 2018, but also helping me to remember that I need to read my own damn bookshelves. As many of you may know, I started this year doing the hashtag reading blackout, and I will probably do the exact same thing in 2019. I started in February and did February, March, and April, and a little bit into May actually. And I really liked doing it, so I may do it again. And Lord knows I have the books on my own bookcases to do it. So here are the books that I definitely wanted to get to in 2018 that I did not get to. I want to call this a TBR fail, but since I really don't make TBRs, I can't really call it that. I just really wanted to read these books so that I could move on to something else, either by these authors or the next book in the series, so on and so forth. Okay, I'm going to get into the books. I have The Core by Peter V. Brett. This is the concluding novel in the Demon Cycle series. This is book 4. And I have loved this series. And I got mass market paperback because the other 4 books that I have in the series are in this format. So I'm not switching that up. I'm going to keep this this series like it is as far as size of the book goes. But yeah, this didn't happen. I have to read this book. I have to finish this series. Next is one of the books that I had planned to read during the reading blackout, which is The Known World by Edward P. Jones. I didn't get to it. I don't have any information as far as what this book is about. Same thing with quite a few of the other books because I try to steer clear of some synopses when I can. So yeah. But I need to get to this. Next is a book that has been out of its dust jacket for a year and 2 months. And that is Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. This is downstairs in my living room. And I have not yet read it. And it's been in the same place for 14 months. So I might need to move it. Up on my TBR, but this is, I think, a pirate story set in the Grishaverse. I haven't read the synopsis and I haven't listened to any reviews of it because, like, people fall on one side or the other with Leigh Bardugo's writing. Either they didn't like the first trilogy or whatever she did and they loved this, or they didn't like either, or they love both. So I didn't really need to listen to reviews because I've already bought both books in the duology. Next is The Nightingale by Kristen Hanna. Didn't get to it. This was the first book I wanted to read, I think, after I finished the blackout, and it didn't happen. Next is Akata Witch by Nnedi Okorafor. I wanted to read this because it was my goal this year to read all of the books by Nnedi Okorafor that I owned. And I think this is the last one that I own. And I was, of course, going to follow it up with The Kata Warrior, but I haven't bought it yet because I haven't read this. But I think this is the last book that I own, and I didn't read it. And I'm so disappointed, but 2019. Daughter by Asha Bendele. I wanted to read this as part of the reading blackout also, and it didn't happen. The Darkest Child by Dolores Phillips. I actually don't feel 100% bad about this because I'm not the only person who has been wanting to read this for a while and hasn't read it yet. So I don't feel 100% bad, but I am disappointed that I didn't get to it again. The library and just allowing other books to come first. Queen Sugar by Natalie Bazile. Really had planned to read this in February. It's December. Still hasn't been read. An American Marriage by Tayari Jones. This is actually on loan from a coworker who lent it to me with the caveat of keep it until you read it. This was given to her by someone else who either works at a bookstore or works in publishing, something of that nature. They'd already read it. They sent it to her. She read it. She knew I wanted to read it, so she gave it to me to borrow and read when I got to it. And she was even kind enough to put this post-it note on it to cover the Oprah stamp. A Dance of Cloaks by David Dalglish. Dude, hooded cloak, weapon. I have been wanting to read this, and I actually need to go ahead and read this ASAP because I want to do like a retrospective video on all of the books that I have read in the last few years that I have picked up because of this kind of cover that I'm trash for. So I really need to hurry up and finish this. And I also have book 2, yes, right behind you, which is A Dance of Blades, and it's the same kind of cover. So I need to read this to be able to, this and actually a couple other books on my shelf that fall into this category, so I can do that retrospective. Praise Song for the Butterflies by Bernice L. McFadden. I have no excuse. None whatsoever. And I have an extreme amount of disappointment in myself that I did not make myself read this. I even made a point of ordering it directly from Akashic so that I could get a signed copy. And I ordered it before the release date so that I could have this signed copy and have it early. And I still haven't read it. And lastly, I have Electric Arches by Eve L. Ewing. I got this as a Christmas gift. This is actually one of the few, if ever, it may be the only book I've ever received for a Christmas gift. It was gifted to me by my little brother, and I wanted to read this last year, but I did not take it with me out of town. So when I got back, it was already January, and I was trying to finish up some books so I could get into the blackout, and I never picked this up. This actually fell prey or victim to being on the wrong shelf, because this for some reason ended up on the shelf with my coloring books, which is in my office, as opposed to being in here with my other books. So those are all the books that I did not get to in 2018 that I really wanted to read. Here's hoping that in 2019 I do a better job of reading the books on my bookshelf. I do a better job of staying my butt out of the library and even staying my butt off overdrive so that I can focus on my books, because these are just the books that you are seeing in print. I also have a Kindle, and I'm just going to leave that at that. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you tomorrow.